What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Professor Anime. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I am here to bring you all the weekly review of Drifters. In this video, we are going to be talking about episode 3, so let's get started. So in this episode of Drifters, we actually get several character introductions, which is pretty cool because all of these characters are related to some historical figure, in history, so it's very cool to get introduced to some of these other characters. If you remember in my episode 2 review, where we saw in the beginning these two individuals fighting it off, they were pretty much beating each other. One was an older guy, one was a younger guy in robes, and I thought the young guy with the robes was actually Julius Caesar. I was wrong. Apparently, this individual's name was actually Publius Cornelius Scipio, otherwise known as the Scipio or Scipio the Great. And apparently, what Scipio did was that he was a Roman general and later consul who is often regarded as one of the greatest generals and military strategists of all time. So that is very interesting indeed. And we also got introduction on the individual who he was fighting in episode 2, and he is named Hannibal Barca. And when I heard this, I was like, holy shit! No way, because I recently just learned about Hannibal Barca in my college history, world history course that I'm taking, and I was just very intrigued. Like, I actually jumped out of my chair, and I was like, holy shit. Okay, I'm interested now. Because if we're actually getting more historical figures from, history and how they can, affect the timeline of Drifters, of course, the historical timeline, to, the real figures of history are not going to be 100% accurate in this anime series. I mean, this is an anime series, after all, don't get me wrong. We are in a fantasy world, of course, where, different people from various timelines are mashed into one fantastical world. None of this is going to be 100% accurate, of course not, but what I'm trying to say is that I love it when, literature ends up incorporating, various themes or events or even people from historical events and actually incorporating that into their own story. I love it when they do that. And just to hear about Hannibal Barca and from learning about that in my world history college course, it was just very interesting. And I wonder if the personality is going to be somewhat the same or not, but we'll just have to wait and see if some of the things that he ended up doing in real life will actually make its way over into the story of Drifters. It would just be very interesting indeed. Will it happen? Probably not. But I just find it so funny how we're just being introduced to Scipio and Hannibal Barca. And one of the things about Scipio is that his main achievements were during the Second Punic War, where he is best known for defeating Hannibal at the final battle at Zama, one of the feats that earned him the Agnomen Africanus, which is apparently a Roman naming convention or a nickname. So, okay, so it's basically like a royal title. But, yeah, we have it to where Scipio and Hannibal are fighting it out. They're both, telling each other that they are going to beat each other up one day. I want to destroy Rome. I want to destroy you, blah, 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 blah. It's just very funny to see. And the real historical accuracy is that Scipio ended up, defeating Hannibal Barca in the end. So it was kind of cool to see that because, I mean, the two, somewhat get along to a certain degree, but in historical, history, they are actually, enemies. So, yeah, it's just very funny to see that. Now, probably one of the most badass individuals that we got introduced in this episode was when we see a portal actually open up within the fantasy world that the Drifters are residing in. We see a door or a portal, end up opening up in the world, and a plane ends up swooping in, and we find out later that apparently this individual is known as Tadashi Kondo. Now, if I click on his name here and translate it, it translates to Tadashi Kondo, and basically he was a World War II fighter plane, but he was also an ace. So it's very interesting to see how they are also incorporating historical figures from, you know, Japanese history as well. It's basically pretty much anything, you know, that they are throwing into this. They are throwing, you know, all historical figures from world history, which is very interesting indeed. And Tadashi Kondo actually ends up making a pretty funny character, I would have to say. Like, he just opens up into this world of the Drifters, and he's like, the fuck? What? Yo, you jackass over there. Why are you riding a dragon? It's like, what? You would expect him to, like, freak out or something. But he's like, dude, what's going on here? You know, where the fuck am I? Why are you riding a dragon? Someone just tell me where the fuck I am. Sorry for the excessive amount of swearing, but that's literally what Tadashi Kondo ended up, you know, saying in this episode of Drifter. He was just all over the place, and I was just like, dude, this guy's a savage, and I'm probably going to like him more so than the main protagonist of Drifters, known as Toyo. So, I don't know. When it comes to Tadashi Kondo, though, as a character, I'm liking him. But yeah, the main thing that you have to get from this episode is that the Ends, led by the Demon King and various other subordinates of his, end up attacking this kingdom and pretty much burning it to the ground. And we have it to where the spy group that was actually spying on the 3 Drifters that we got introduced previously in the first episode, that group is actually going to seek out their help in order for them to possibly get aid from them in order to help them fight the war against the Ends. I mean, the only way to bring peace throughout the world is to actually, you know, defeat the Ends. I mean, that's the only solution, and the only way to do that is to get help from the Drifters, which is basically their only chance in order to stop the Ends. So, the spy group that was spying on the Drifters is technically going to have to make a friend of thy enemy of sorts. So, the enemy of thy enemy is my friend. The good old saying, you know, so we're gonna have it to where they eventually end up getting help from the Drifters. Honestly, Drifters is a series that, you know, no one can really take seriously, and no one should take seriously. I mean, it's pretty serious in terms of its matureness when it comes to, you know, the gore and the amount of blood, because really you don't see a lot of series actually showing gore and blood nowadays. I mean, pretty much everything is censored, but when it comes to Drifters, it does a good job at what it presents. However, when it comes to the overall story, the story isn't really, you know, something that you should all take seriously. It's just a severe amount of ridiculousness in a story. You know, you're bringing all these historical figures from world history and mashing them into this fantastical fantasy world that is going to have huge battles and stuff like that. It's very cool to watch and be entertained by this, don't get me wrong. I'm actually liking Drifters. I'm entertained by it, but is it a series that you can take seriously? No. So, yeah. When it comes to these episode reviews, they might not be as strong as my previous reviews in the past. I'm just letting everybody know on that because, I mean, there's really not a whole lot to say about Drifters, just to be completely honest with you. But yeah, that about does it for this video, guys. Let me know in the comments down below on what you thought about this episode of Drifters. How much did you enjoy the action? What are your expectations for the next episode of Drifters? Did you like it? Did you hate it? I just want to know your overall thoughts. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.